Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 42 of my show, but this is about Episode 45. Now before I start talking about it, I just want to mention, I don't upload a video during the week. I normally wait till Friday to do so, because Friday's the end of the week and the start of the weekend, but I'm not feeling good. Like, I got a little bit of a stomach flu kind of thing, so I figured might as well use the time I have while I'm at home to probably record a video at the very least. I wanted to get that out of the way before I started talking about the actual video. Now, actually getting into it, this is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 42 of my show, but this is about Episode 45. And Episode 45 in the original Power Rangers first season is known as Crystal of Nightmares. Now, before I start talking about it, I just want to mention one little thing about this episode I am talking about. A little bit of a funny story about this episode. The Rangers aren't going to be fighting any monsters in this episode, but they will have to face Goldar, basically, for the most part. I just thought I'd mention that before I actually started with the actual video. So they're not going to be fighting any monsters that I'm talking about in this video, like in my previous ones. But they are going to have to face Goldar and some putties. I wanted to get that out of the way before I actually started talking about the actual video. Now, getting into it, basically what happens is the Rangers are at the school, basically, and they're preparing for a test, basically, and one of them is saying that they have to study for the test, and basically Jason tells the other Rangers that Billy's got a plan for them to study for over the weekend for the test, basically. They're going to be staying overnight in a lodge, basically, and they're going to study while they do that, which kind of makes sense, because if they got a test coming up, they got to study for it, so it's best for them to do it that way. And then Bulk and Skull, basically over here. Actually, before I continue with the Rangers, Mr. Kaplan shows up where Bulk and Skull are, and he gives them these pamphlets, which are their report cards, but Skull thinks that they're presents that he tells Mr. Kaplan that he shouldn't have. But then Mr. Kaplan tells him he didn't. They're Bulk and Skull's mid-semester grades. And then they start looking at them, and Bulk is like, ouch! And then, basically, Mr. Kaplan is saying to Bulk that ouch is right, because if they get a D on next week's exams, they'll be spending the rest of the semester, the rest of the year in detention, which is kind of a joke. It's kind of a joke because of the whole, detention is a word that starts with the letter D, and if they get another D on it, oh my god. Anyway, now getting in, I just wanted to mention that, and then basically the Rangers, like I said, they're preparing for the test, and basically, Jason said that they got a foolproof plan on how to pass the test, basically, which in this case is they're going to spend the weekend at a lodge and do some studying, basically. And then when Bulk and Skull overhear that, they realize that they have to follow the goody goods because they need to find out the answers for the test and stuff, and they can't allow the goody goods to get... They can't allow Jason and his friends to get high marks on the test, so they decide to follow them. And then it goes into a scene where Goldar is with Rita, and then he's explaining what his plan is to deal with the Rangers this time. And he explains to them that this time, his plan is to use... He tells Rita that this time, his plan is to destroy the Rangers by destroying their self-confidence using the Crystal of Nightmares. And then Rita inquires, she's like, why should I care if the Rangers' self-confidence is destroyed? Then Goldar explains to her that without self-confidence, the Rangers' powers will be useless, which kind of, in a tactical sense, it makes sense, because if their powers sort of rely on their willingness to use them and they have confidence in that ability, then basically shattering that self-confidence basically disables their powers. Which is... So, tactically, in this case, it does make sense. Anyway, now getting into it again with the Rangers, they're at the lodge doing some studying. And then basically what happens is after a while they all go to sleep. Well, and Bulk and Skull are hiding because they need to learn the answers for the test. And what happens is basically after that, then Goldar puts his plan into motion after the Rangers are asleep using the Crystal of Nightmares. And he makes them have these weird dreams and stuff. And the last one that happens is, if I'm remembering correctly, the last one that one of them has is one that Jason has, I think. And this, now that I've gotten into it with, actually, before the Rangers go to sleep in the episode, Goldar is telling them, pleasant dreams, gooders. Soon your dreams will turn to nightmares. And then the Crystal of Nightmares takes effect after the Rangers are asleep. I'm sorry, I just wanted to backtrack there to it. And then basically, the Rangers are asleep and they're having these different sort of dreams where they're in their Ranger forms. And then this is the funniest part. Because you see in this episode, by this point in the episode, Bulk and Skull have followed Jason and the others to the lodge. So they fell asleep as well. And apparently in this episode, we find out that Bulk is allergic to feathers and stuff, which is kind of a weird allergy, and I don't know. Anyway, actually, it's not feathers he's allergic to, it's dust, actually. He's actually allergic to dust, which is sort of, I guess you could kind of consider it maybe a weird allergy, and then I just wanted to get that out of the way. Anyway, the Rangers are having these different dreams with the Crystal of Nightmares in effect. And then basically what happens is when Jason's nightmare comes up, it does a little nightmare flashback scene to when he was fighting Goldar in the Dark Dimension in the Green with Evil 5-part episode. And basically, Goldar is telling him in the dream state that he's no match for him. He's like, "Fool, you're no match for me. You'll never have been and you never will be." And then the Rangers have this collective nightmare where they're in the command center, and then Zordon is informing them that it has occurred to him that they have proven themselves to be unworthy of their powers. They will now lose their powers basically forever, and then they all wake up after that. And then Zordon is informing Alpha of Rita's plan, basically, like Goldar's plan, this time using the Crystal of Nightmares. And then basically, in the morning when the Rangers are all awake, Zordon tries to contact them on the communicator, and, but because of the nightmares and their self-confidence being shattered, the beep kind of startled them a little. And then basically what happens is after that, they answer Zordon on the communicator basically after a second time around, and and Zordon explains to them about the Crystal of Nightmares shattering their self-confidence. And the only way for them to break the spell is for them to destroy the Crystal of Nightmares. And this is gonna sound kind of funny, but this is the first time in Power Rangers where... This is actually the first time in Power Rangers since episode 2 where the Rangers will do most of the fighting until a certain point in their human forms. I wanted to get that out of the way. And then they teleport to where the Crystal of Nightmares is hidden in a cave. But then the putties show up after that, and then basically what happens is... I think it's Jason, he goes into the cave to deal with the Crystal of Nightmares and Goldar at the same time, while the other Rangers are dealing with the putties outside in the cave entrance. And then basically what happens is, after a little bit of a lengthy battle with the putties and stuff, after a little bit of a battle with Goldar, Jason manages to shatter the Crystal of Nightmares, which basically breaks the spell which shattered their self-confidence. And then Zordon is telling them in an echoey voice where he says that with the Crystal of Nightmares shattered, their self-confidence and their reliance in their powers has been restored because of the spell in the Crystal of Nightmares being destroyed. And then after a little while, they morph to their Ranger forms to fight the putties. And then after they deal with Goldar a little bit, Goldar manages to escape. And then after that, basically, what happens is I'm guessing Rita and Goldar get upset that they lost again. And then basically what happens after that is then it goes into a scene where Bulk and Skull are, and they're still underneath the... Now that I've gotten back into it with Bulk and Skull's character, I just want to backtrack here because when the Crystal of Nightmares was active, they were asleep as well, so they had this dream where they pretended they were different Rangers and they were in the Megazord and stuff. I just thought I'd mention it since I'm getting close to the end of the episode. And then basically, after they find out about the test, they hurry back to Angel go to do the test basically, and then after the test is finished, Mr. Kaplan hands them their grades on the test, and basically Skull says that the plan worked. They didn't get D's. Which is kind of true. They didn't get D's this time, but they got F's. And then Mr. Kaplan is asking Skull, what does he know what F stands for? And then after a few guesses, Mr. Kaplan says forever, and that's how long they're gonna be in detention. And then that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, I am going to try to post it today. So when I do post it today sometime, just please give this video the real best you guys can. And I will see you guys probably sometime later this week for the next video. So until then guys, like I always tell you with this series, may the power protect you always.